Welcome everyone to the Purpose Hangtime podcast. It is your host Leon and my co-host
Ricky Pan.
And here with the main purpose of this podcast is to discuss interpersonal relationships, whether that is romantic with your lovers, whether that is platonic with your friends, whether those are familial ties with your family.
So sit back, relax, come listen in and hang with us.
Two guys shooting the breeze. Welcome everyone to the Purpose Hangtime podcast. It is your host Leon McFarlane and my co-host. Now, obviously, I had to make sure that was in there first time around because with the episode beforehand, I didn't do that until probably about 3 minutes in, going against our normal Purpose Hangtime policy. But it is what it is, and we're here bringing back the energy and bringing back another episode for the Refining the Connection series. So with today's episode, we already looked with our previous episode into how to create friendships and the vital pillars that allow that friendship to really garner the positives from it. So Ricky gave perfect good explanations. We delved into some of our personal experiences just regarding ourselves and how we essentially garnered our friendship or our relationship and then allowed it to, maintain and push forward. So on that premise of maintenance, we then decided, the 5 ways to improve your friendships is a natural and logical progression from that. So without further ado, we're going to push into just some statistics because we already have a definition of friendship from our first episode. And we know that it's a person who you have to be able to trust. You have to be able to have that connection with. You have to be able to be comfortable explaining and sharing your, I won't say deepest, darkest secrets, but being able to be vulnerable with them. That is a very important proponent of having a good friendship. But how do you maintain it? And especially when it's since the pandemic, there's plenty of statistics out there which has shown how vulnerable and how fragile quite a few friendships have been without actually being able to see your friends in person. Now, yes, the world has now reopened up. We have now essentially gone back to a new normal, which I know is a hated phrase within the media, with a lot of people. But essentially, we have gone back to a new normal, but we're back to being in person with our loved ones and with those that we have a platonic friendship with. And obviously, learning all the lessons from the pandemic as well and really being able to reflect. So I'm just going to go into a few statistics regarding consumer research from LifeSearch. And since the pandemic, 1 in 3 Brits, because we're looking mainly at the British statistics here. Sorry, Rix, I know you're still a British citizen, but you're out there in Denmark. So 1 in 3 Brits, 32%, have fallen out with relatives or friends due to stress and pressures regarding the pandemic. Which, okay, fair enough, we know this. And this figure is even higher in young people and rising to over half of those under 34 to 18-year-old. And people living in London. So what is it that's really making these friendships fragile? Why can't individuals maintain their friendships? What is going on? Is it due to this, now we do live in this hyper connected society that we no longer rely on in-person meetups and we now look more towards the apps? Or is it that we didn't really have a good connection with quite a few of the people that we thought we did? We don't really know. And then Rick, anything to point out in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, that is a very interesting and startling statistic, actually. And you're right, it begs the question, why is it that, it's prevalent since the pandemic? And that's something we really want to kind of delve into and kind of try to find the answer to, actually, to be fair. But, I just thought that was very, very interesting statistic there.
Yeah, and then I've got quite a few notes here in front of me, but I'm gonna drop it down to the other striking statistic where it states 21% of people or individuals aged 18 to 34 have shared 5 or more friendships due to COVID-inspired thoughts on the loneliness epidemic. So essentially, what we're trying to state here, because we know that loneliness is not good for us and our well-being. We know that essentially it can be an affliction, and as we call it an epidemic, it endures our body and puts us under stress. As we've stated before in another episode, it's the equivalent to or social rejection or being by yourself on a consistent basis, not being able to open up, is equivalent to actually experiencing physical pain. So this also garners the main purpose and proponent of this episode, stating that improving our platonic connections is critical to a healthy lifestyle. But this is the thing, how do we actually do it? When all of our variety of different connections, whether that's familial, whether that is romantic, whether that's platonic, are so different. There's so many different attributes thrown into the pot. There's so many ingredients thrown into the pot. How do we end up with the perfect recipe that leads to a good maintenance of our friendships? And how do we garner that better well-being?
Yeah.
So,
would you say, Leon?
Yeah.
Sorry, would you say that actually maintaining a friendship is a lot harder than creating a new friendship?
That is a very, very good question, actually. And I reckon it really is. And the reason why I say it is because, yet again, as I've stated before, hyperconnected world, we are bombarded with all these different pieces of information, and bombarded by all these different signals saying how this is how the perfect friendship is, or this is how the perfect life is, or this is how we should be living our lives. It's very, very easy to be caught up in the dopamine of making an initial connection with someone. Oh, I've got a new friend. But then maintaining it to a certain level where it garners positivity, it garners that peace, it garners that prosperity, and to really get the serotonin on that basis, where you're getting those happy chemicals that are long lasting, that is very, very difficult to keep above flow. Because just like with romantic relationships, it's hard. It's difficult to maintain a balance, and it requires an individual to really understand, to have that accountability to stay, okay, my friendship style with this person, just like we've talked about attachment styles in the past, works in this way. Yeah. My communication level works in this orientation, and in terms of how much effort I am willing to give with everything that goes on in life, because life is not an easy process either, this is how I can maintain this. So on that premise, it is very, very difficult to maintain a specific level regarding your friendships, because not that many people know how, not that many people are willing to really, really put themselves out there and make sure that a friendship consistently delivers positivity, or when things do go bad, to get things back to that level of normality where both parties are happy. It's probably easier, just as we have the apps and everything that we've stated before, it's probably easier to create a new friendship where I don't have to be vulnerable, I don't have to be intimate. I can literally just continuously be on that cycle, that consistent hamster wheel of creating new friends. So I think, yet again, purpose, Hangtime fashion, delving into that really, really good question. We do need to be able to maintain and garner friendships, just like how we can maintain and garner our familial ties as well. It is important for our own personal well-being to make sure that we do have friends that we can trust, and we know that we can trust based off historical experiences. So that's my slightly long-winded answer to that, but it definitely is more difficult, in my opinion, to maintain a friendship. But it depends on who the individuals are in that friendship. And are they willing to be open? Are they willing to be intimate with each other and to be open? Because normally friendships can dissolve on the basis of one not understanding each other's needs and what's required to make that friendship work.
Or not even willing to listen to each other's needs. But I totally agree with you in a sense that you not only do you have to know how to maintain it, but I think an even bigger part of it is the willingness or kind of the motivation to keep friendship. And you can apply it in, as you mentioned before, relationships. I don't know how many of our listeners are football fans, but you could either, relate it to a football analogy, for example, when they say it's easier to become a champion than it is to remain a champion.
Agreed.
And it all comes from, that energy, that dependability, reliability that we actually talked about as one of the 5 pillars in our previous episode, which I think is really, really important as well. And I'm pretty sure you could relate it to this, but I was actually listening to a very interesting podcast episode with Lewis Howe and Jay Shelley. Some of you listeners
Yes.
might know those two.
Hmm.
Now, they were talking in the context of a relationship, but you could also kind of apply the same thinking and logic behind it. And there was one moment which really stood out to me. And Jay Shetty said the sign of a toxic relationship is where both people work independently to kind of serve their own needs in a relationship, whereas
Hmm.
a conscious and loving relationship, and you could use this in terms of friendship, is where two people work independently to bring the best version of themselves to the table, and it's all
Yes.
about, as you said, setting boundaries, being able to become honest and transparent with each other, which I think is important.
Hmm. So essentially, what you're trying to say is there's an element of teamwork required to make sure that a friendship is maintained. And
Exactly.
yes,
It can't be one sided.
and yes, okay, fair enough. You're two individuals, which is something that is always going to be the case. But that individuality you bring together to harness and augment to get yourself the better version. So it serves a good purpose or an excellent purpose for both parties in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I think that's an excellent insight because if we, let's say, for example, we use us as an example, which I know yet again, I think it's always best to do it that way because as we're on the topic of friendship, we have to hold ourselves accountable for our listeners and figure out how does it work
Mm.
in terms of us. So in terms of like, should we use the example of how we run the business basically, where essentially you have the idea, you have some great ideas and you bring them to the forefront and I can continuously, I wouldn't say prod and poke, but we both bring different attributes to the table.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, I will see things in a different light. So let's say even the creation of this episode, which I've decided I'm going to head, and
Yeah.
you've decided to take ahead of the other one, where we both have, there's a different want or a different idea. There's different sparks that has basically got the creative process flowing.
Mm.
But then we both also have different ways of critiquing what information we bring to the table, which essentially has
Yeah.
led to us taking the best parts of each other and what we can bring. I'm not going to give examples of that. And essentially mold together a good episode where it uses both of our attributes in a positive light, and which obviously the viewer then benefits from, or the viewer or the listener then benefits from, which I think is always good. But yeah, shooting back to, let's say, our personal experiences in purpose hangtime fashion in terms of improving your friendships and improving that connection with your friends. Let's use a joint experience of something of, like, let's say, I wouldn't call it an event, but it is something that I would love to see in terms of, let's say, the purpose hang time 3 years down the line, we're millionaires, or we have such a massive community. I used to host this event once a month called the Fraternity Friday, where all my boys would come over, all my close boys from secondary school, we all come over and we sit and chat.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as we were saying about how it's difficult to maintain, individuals go through major life changes, many life changes throughout their lives. And sometimes it becomes so difficult to keep up with these life changes to the point where you can't always individually maintain a friendship to a level that you want to keep it to. So my idea was, okay, it's a bunch of 30 plus year old guys. Let's just all sit in a room, have some alcohol or have some drinks. Doesn't have to be alcohol, but yeah, have some drinks. Let's watch some stuff on TV and let's just chat. Let's just really sit and chat about what is going on in our lives. And I think with that way of maintenance, that's how we really get to check in on each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's really important. Yes, it's important in the female space, but very important in terms of a male space where we actually have someone who is literally a sympathetic ear. or someone who is happy to listen to what's going on in our lives. As we stated before, one of the pillars of a good friendship or making a good friend from last episode is encouragement, is dependability, is all these other attributes that we manage to establish and really, really get to perpetuate when we have these Fraternity Fridays with something that is actually so, so simple. It doesn't require tons of money. It doesn't require much money anyway. It just requires us bringing something over. But in terms of just being able to check in on everyone in person versus a text message that can be ignored or an email that can be ignored or a social media post, it really, really is valuable in terms of maintaining our friendship as a circle. And that involves a good 6 members of the Fraternity Friday, which obviously we do have some ladies that come over, close female friends, that will come over and join in as well when we sit and talk and catch up. But I find that is very, very valuable in terms of maintaining our friendships. Having that in person, also holding people accountable and make sure that they're committed by actually turning up to the Fraternity Friday, and then just being open, being completely open and just sitting and discussing what lads like to talk about, which is not women all the time. It generally can be just something as simple as opening up about, oh, my grandma passed away the last few weeks and I really want to sit and discuss it about the lads, or just be able to be around friends that I haven't really seen too often and just be able to just sit and discuss or talk about what's going on in someone else's life and have someone to be able to tell me that it's okay. And I think the other reason why we also have this Fraternity Friday, and something that's become was a part of tradition. Whenever someone gets, let's say, a job promotion, we actually do celebrate it during this Fraternity Friday. We have the champagne, we toast, we make sure that as a community that all the wins are celebrated within the lads, which I think is very, very, very important. Yet again, doesn't require money because not going out to clubs. I think right now we're a part of the older ilk, and that's not how we like to enjoy ourselves. We got things that we got to do in the morning, such as get the grocery shopping and make sure that our properties are maintained. So I think things as simple as this, understanding that you don't have to really, really maintain our friendships, doesn't require money. It's literally just being present, checking in often, being vulnerable, and having, not being codependent, knowing that we have our separate lives, but knowing that we can all come together and discuss what's going on in our lives with no judgment. And obviously you have that humor and enthusiasm. There's one particular member who likes to crack a lot of jokes. And, that gentleman there is much appreciated because we all bring different flavors to the pot and different ingredients to the pot, which generally leads to our little mini community, which I think is absolutely great. So that's our joint experience. Unfortunately, as Ricky is now in Denmark, he is not a member in person, but we will sort out something regarding, in terms of virtually something going on, or when he comes over. Of course, when he comes back home, we'll sort out another Fraternity Friday. But I think that for me, also going through the whole divorce as well, I found that that's been very, very important in terms of just being able to see my friends and get me through the difficult times, just having a good laugh and just being present. Very, very, very important, and I'm more than happy to expand that network forwards. And of course, with the Purpose Hangtime, once we have our multi-million pound buildings and we have our luxury suites, we'll run our Purpose Hangtime Fraternity Fridays and get a lot of people in to just sit down, discuss, and just basically say that you're not alone. Let's build a community. Let's chat. Let's discuss what's going on in each one of our lives. So yeah. Definitely, as you can tell, there's a lot of enthusiasm behind it, but I think it's important that we have that sense of maintenance when it comes to friendships, and that's one way of doing it, with everyone all here present at one time. It doesn't have to always be on a one-on-one basis, if that's your style, that is.
Yeah, I mean, no, that is a good kind of joy experience to kind of share, and we've always had so much fun on those Fraternity Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
And we do talk about a lot of topics, ranging from the very topical and trivial to the very deep conversations we've had. And, I'm truly grateful that we have that Fraternity Friday. By the way, can we actually trademark that name just in case, or is it?
It probably is already trademarked, to be completely
Okay,
honest. We'll search that up after the recording.
okay. But yeah, I mean that's a perfect experience. But in terms of obviously now since I've kind of moved away,
Yes, let's hear of your
um,
experience regarding maintaining in Denmark, because geographically you are many, 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 I wouldn't say hundreds of kilometers, I guess. Thousands, no, hundreds of kilometers away.
uh,
I wouldn't say
yes,
thousands.
I
Or
don't
actually
think it'd
possibly,
be
or
thousands.
probably young thousands,
Um,
yeah. It's all right, we can check this later on. But being away, you're not just a bus ride away anymore. You're not a half an hour walk away. So in terms of
yeah.
maintenance of friendships from Denmark, how do you do it, Rix? Like what are in terms of the challenges, what are the challenges that you feel that you have to overcome to maintain a friendship from being far away? And with that, when you overcome them, what would you say is the benefits, if there are benefits from being far away? Do you feel that you're more reflective on your friendships and you work a bit harder to maintain them? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think the, obviously the most difficult part is not being able to meet up with my friends in person, having that kind of face to face quality time with
Yeah.
someone.
Uh-huh.
It's totally different to doing it virtually online. To be
Mm.
fair, and I'm one of those people where I actually prefer to spend some time with someone in person. But anyway, yeah, it's just being able to have that one-on-one physical quality time with someone, which I find the hardest.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I think the first 2 weeks since moving here, it's probably been one of the most difficult 2 weeks I've had in a very, very long while. And
Yes.
there was
Mm-hmm.
one specific point where I got to a stage where it suddenly just hit me. I'm moving to a new country, and you could say in a way starting a new life here.
Yep.
Um, there was just one evening I was just sat in my apartment alone on the sofa chilling, and a whole flood of emotions came over me. In terms of like all my friends are away living in the UK, and don't get me wrong, I have a network of close friends here in Denmark
Mm-hmm.
as well, but UK is where most of my friends that I've known for a very very long time reside.
Yes.
So obviously
Mm-hmm.
that's been very difficult, but I think what makes it easier is we now do live in a hyper-connected world, and the way I keep in touch with them is mostly through WhatsApp or Messenger as well. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I actually do belong to quite a few number of WhatsApp groups with certain friends. Um, Sometimes I have like scheduled video calls with them, and I think that's quite good because I
Mm.
know I can trust and depend on them to make that time. So if we're gonna do a catch up call on Monday or Tuesday, we're gonna do a catch up call on that day.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
been good, reliable
And then yeah,
in
again,
that
it's
regard.
highlighting the dependency as well. As in, yeah, having friends that are dependable, who actually do as they say,
Yeah,
always, it's always a benefit, and it makes you feel valued. Of course, there's a sense of
exactly,
belonging there. Hmm.
exactly. And also I do speak to friends randomly, send them messages as well. Again, this common friend of ours, I just send him
Mm-hmm.
some bullshit sometimes. He sends me some bullshit sometimes, but it's having that humor and being
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of just catch up with him on the fly, which is really good. And then
Yeah.
I also have some friends as well. There is this one WhatsApp group called the Dream Team. Now I'm not going to say who's in that group. Listeners probably know themselves who's in that group, but I share it with two other people as
Yep.
well, and that's
Mm-hmm.
also a great place where we just talk about, hey, how's everyone's day going, or happy Easter, what's everyone up
Yeah.
to? We send pics to each other, which is really good, and
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of the benefit of communicating with my friends in this way is basically that reflection period, self
Mm-hmm.
reflection, and I'm beginning to figure out that obviously I keep in touch with some people more than others,
Yes,
But
of
at the
course.
same time, it just allows me to reflect. Okay, I know that if I send this person a message, or if I say, "Oh, let's do a video call," I know there are people I could trust on to either write back to me within a certain
Yeah.
time period.
Mhm.
Not that I'm chasing, by the way, but anyway. Or they say, "Okay, cool, yeah, Ricky, let's do a call at Monday night at 9 p.m." So that's also been great, and also I've also had some of my UK friends already saying, "Oh, we're going to come over to Denmark to visit you in the summer."
Yes.
So I already got
Hmm.
like pre-bookings for my apartment. To be fair, which is going to be good.
Yeah, and that's a true sign of when you can actually say you feel valued, and that's also showing effort as well as the dependability to really, really make sure that your friendship is maintained. Because gestures such as traveling abroad to go and see a friend or seeing yourself, obviously Rick's, which I've already booked as well, so keep that booking free for me.
Yeah,
It's important to really, really show your friends that they are worthwhile your time. And I think when it comes to that, that's something that is lost in society where everything is disposable. Everything is disposable because you can have 500 Facebook friends. Another statistic, but most people who do have, let's say, 500 Facebook friends, they only can really say that a good 20 something percent of them are actually friends that they've ever met. So why do we have this extra connections on Facebook for the sake of
yeah.
having it? And I think it's that fear of missing out every now and then. So yeah, that definitely will be a very interesting topic to delve into when we get round to it as well. So yeah, no, thank you very much, Ricky, for sharing that with us. Now I'm going to briefly go over what happens when you deem yourself to have, I wouldn't say, well, too many friends or a large number of friends that you need to keep, or I wouldn't say need, but you want to keep in touch with on a regular basis. Because obviously you will have those who will fall out the woodwork or you haven't heard in a long time. So I'm just going to briefly go over my morning friends maintenance routine. And with that, because I know I personally do not have the time to make sure that I call everyone every day. Some of us have old school parents who love to spend their time on the phone for long periods of time to make sure that they call friends, family, and everything like that. But obviously, life is a rat race, especially when you are working for a company, especially when 8 hours of your day or 8.5 hours a day you are out at work. But there are certain periods of downtime in your working day where you can send out those really, really quick messages just to see, okay, is this person okay? I haven't heard them for 2 weeks. Or, oh, this is, let's say Ricky's on my constant messaging list. Let's just make sure that he's okay. So in terms of my morning maintenance routine, I normally check it when it comes to my commute. So some people like to listen to music, some people like to read their books. I like to make sure I get all of my network and friendship admin or even family admin sorted out in the mornings. So I send off all these messages. That's what I like to do. So my platform of choice is WhatsApp. I'm not really a heavy Instagram user. I'm not a heavy TikTok user, even though some people obviously disagree that that's even for my generation, being a millennial. So what I like to do is once I am on a commute, my commute's probably around about an hour. I shoot off all the messages to those people who I have not heard from in the space of a week or two, and those who are gone that are important in my life. Because obviously, life has its ups and downs. Some people may just need that slight hint of positivity to spark their day. And with me, obviously, yeah, again, I'm not saying that you have to do this, but this is how I keep on top of but this is how I maintain my friendships, especially more the fringe friendships, as well as the close ones. Shooting off that message on a Monday morning, hey, how you doing? How's it going? How is life? And then sending a nice little GIF, little animated GIF, or leaving a voice note just full of energy on a Monday morning really, really changes that approach with someone. And I'm always been told that I'm the one who has tons and tons of friends. I wouldn't say so, but I have people who will check in and just double check to make sure that I'm okay when I don't send off those messages. So it literally becomes a routine to make sure that I can check up on everyone without actually having to use too much energy. And I think when it does come to improving or trying to maintain your friendships, the main issue that I think people then come across is, okay, it's a lot of energy for me to keep in touch with everyone. But realistically, it's actually not. It just depends on the individual and depends on how close they are in terms of your friend circle and what is actually required to top up their friendship meter, as I like to call it. So I have a friend who I normally send a message on a Wednesday, basically saying happy hump day, hope everything's going well, just full of energy, basically just to make sure that she's okay. And on top of that, just putting it out there, yep, it's Wednesday, it could have been a hard week. You don't know if it's been a hard week, it could have been an easy week, but yeah, you got people looking out for you. And I think that's very, very important. Having people that do look out for you makes life so much easier. You have a sense of belonging and a sense of community. So yeah, so that's enough of me rabbiting on regarding my morning maintenance routine, but it's something that I've got so into now. I can normally shoot it off all within the space of 5-10 minutes. And I know that's everyone catered for and everyone looked out for. And I use that for families as well. So in normal purpose hang time fashion as well, the 5 ways to improve or maintain your friendships. I'll go ahead with this, Rix, because, you've been talking a long time too.
Yeah.
So number 1, and feel free to jump in as well. Number 1, check in often. This is exactly what I've stated for the last 5 to 10 minutes and what Ricky's also talked about as well. Check in often via text-based or social media or in person, because face-to-face interactions are the most valuable form of connections. Very, very important if you want to just make sure that friendship meter is topped up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of improving that connection, novel experiences. Now, obviously, it depends on the person if you want to do a novel, and everyone's idea of a novel experience is very, very, very different. It could be, let's say, myself and Ricky playing the latest FIFA game or a new co-op game together, which is a new experience. Checking up on that person on Xbox Live. It could be that, or it could be as novel as, okay, let's go to a new restaurant that neither of us has been to before, which I do with a variety of different friends as well. So novel experiences can be different, but that can be used to improve your connection. Number 3, something that we spoke about so many times before, being vulnerable. Being vulnerable, knowing that you're showing your genuine self to someone else, that is so important in terms of improving your friendships and your relationships. Because by knowing that someone can be absolutely genuine towards you, you show that they're showing their true self, and then you literally let your guards down. You then know that, okay, now I can actually talk to you about the real life stuff, the real difficult things, and you're not going to be judging. The 4th point, avoid codependency. Yes, we have that friend. Yes, we have that friendship. Yes, we want to maintain it. But don't try and maintain it every single hour of the day and then be demanding a response straight away. That is not how you keep friends. That's definitely not how you keep friends at all, because then that changes the dynamic. Certain individuals definitely do not like that, and that can then form some distance. So looking at how, let's say, take one of our previous episodes in the Green Flag series, where you start to see you go down those steps in terms of the maintenance of a relationship, that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah, and to add to that point as well, I have one specific friend as well where, she sometimes takes a couple of days to respond. But then she's always the one says, hey, sorry, there's just been a lot going on, or, I'm just that type of person. And as long as they're honest about it, and honest and straight up with you about it, I think that's absolutely fine. I always say to her, look, well, don't keep apologizing. I know how it is. If this is the way you are, that's the way you are. And I totally respect and I get that. So, don't go chasing or seem too desperate to the other person.
Because at the end of the day, a friend is a friend. Some people like to be more introverted. Some people like to be more extroverted in terms of their displays of communication. I know with me, I am more than happy for people to reach out, but I always will state and have the understanding and the maturity to say, I've sent you a message, but don't feel you have to get in contact straight away, because it's not mandatory. The whole idea of, and the whole advantage of having text-based or social media is that it's at your convenience. So it's a double-edged sword. It can be constant messages and signals and noise, or it can be used to your advantage where you can say, look, at your convenience, you can then get in contact with me. Because yeah, again, we all have busy lives. So I think it's very, very important that we take that into consideration when it comes to specific individuals. And then the final point, be accountable, show commitment, and show gratitude. Because at the end of the day, the fact that you do have that friend, it's an amazing thing. And try and be that shining light in that person's life. So as I said before with the morning maintenance routine, I like to at least put some positivity out there so that someone can say, you know what, this person, let's say, you never know what sort of day someone's having. If someone's having a bad day, to see something or to see a message saying, look, I look forward to meeting up with you, have an amazing day. If anything is going wrong, just know that you are an amazing person. I'm not saying you have to drop a line like that, but, just knowing that someone is there avoids the loneliness factor, avoids that whole loneliness epidemic situation. And it makes you know that you're not alone in this life, because it's a long life and it's a difficult life. So I think those 5 points are always very, very important when it comes to maintaining and when it comes to improving your friendship, and then even shooting back quite quickly to the Fraternity Friday. All of these points together, you catch up in a nice, healthy manner, and it shows that you're very grateful for the community that you have produced, which I think is very, very important in this society where a lot of things are misconstrued when it comes to social media. And it shows the real, because you're actually seeing the people, you're seeing all your individuals and the people who care about you all in one place, being able to communicate with you in a nice, positive fashion, which I think is, when it comes to life and when it comes to having purpose in life, it's always good to have those people around. So, those are my 5 points. We've had more of a discussion-based episode this time around, so just kind of mix things up a bit. But I think in terms of that, it's more rewarding for us to be more vulnerable and explain how we improve our friendships, how we maintain our friendships. And there's a lot of literature based on how to improve and how to do things even better. So if you require more help, whether it's from the Purpose Hangtime or from other resources, feel free to look out for that. And then obviously in true Purpose Hangtime fashion, the quote of the episode. So the quote that we have today is an Aristotle quote. And it's, wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. I'm going to say that again. Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. Within friendships, you need to have that patience. But as it is a fruit, it is definitely fruitful. And it can be such a powerful thing when it comes to navigating all the pitfalls and all the things and all the challenges in life. And having good, positive friendships, good, positive relationships, as this is an overarching umbrella, is so important to making sure that our time on this earth is worthwhile. So, closing up the episode with that, with our personal experience and everything within this episode, I'd like to thank Rix for obviously being open as per usual and contributing such a massive part to this episode and this episode series. Yeah, 2 guys shooting the breeze as per usual, and we look forward to bringing some new exciting content. And when I say exciting, definitely is going to be exciting, because we're changing the format massively with our next episodes. Yes, the Purpose Hangtime, I'd like to thank you for listening. So, 2 guys shooting the breeze, thank you very much all.
Thank you.